Okay, we are live streaming. The closed meeting recessed at 5:16 p.m. yesterday and reconvened at 10 a.m. February 3rd, 2021, and recessed at lunch at 11:55 a.m. and has just returned at 12:41 p.m. Council approved the regular council meeting minutes in camera of January 19th, 2021 as presented. Council gave direction to the CAO clerk on the file tender 2020-12 Skeed Road, Lakewoods Drive construction. Council gave direction to the CAO clerk on human resource files. Council, at this point, I'm going to ask for a friendly amendment to the agenda. And the mover was Councillor Schulist and the seconder was Councillor Wilmer for the approval of the agenda. The reason being that we have had an emergency repair needed on one of our plow trucks. So the amendment will be to add 12.3.9 emergency engine repair unit number EQ070. Is that acceptable to the mover and the seconder? Councillor Schulist?
I'm very fine with it. Yep.
And as is Councillor Wilmer's puppy. Okay. So the mover and seconder are okay with that. I then will ask all those in favor. And that's carried. So at this point in our council agenda from yesterday, we are at finance and administration. We have municipal reports, service delivery options review. This is a report from Sue. Sue, did you want to speak to the report?
So this was just an update to let you know that we had, the direction was for staff to go back to the, for staff to discuss the findings that were found in the Bonnechere Valley recommendations. And so we had that discussion, and it was, we've decided that, you know, we probably will be asking for council to consider a recommendation that we proceed with an RFQ for a service delivery review. So I'm just trying to open this box here, won't let me keep it open with the notes. So staff didn't get through all of the recommendations, but we will complete the review in the strategic plan action worksheet at our next staff meeting on Monday. But I have to say it was a great exercise, and if anything, staff saw that many of the recommendations we've already addressed through some of our initiatives in restructuring, changing our software system, updating the website, and some of our policy reviews that have taken place, some of our job description reviews. Staff does see the validity of an operational service delivery review and had sought some funding last year, but was not successful. Staff is also cognizant of how much these reviews cost, and we'd like to narrow the scope of that review to ensure it reflects our organizational needs. The scope is something that we'd be bringing back to council for consideration. Council should be congratulated for accepting the staff recommendations in 2018 and 19 to assist us with this long-term planning. I think sometimes we lose sight of everything that you approve and that we've done that have brought efficiencies and are bringing us that step closer to accountability. In 2019 and 2020, we approved the building condition assessments, which will soon be starting in 2021. Completed the roads need study. The asset management plan review is underway. The water wastewater rate study and the long-term planning documents have been reviewed and are filed. And we're also in the process of changing our accounting software, as I previously mentioned, and that will bring us to e-billing and again, better access for our ratepayers. I do believe that there is a resolution or sorry, some correspondence from the ministry further along in our package, and council can decide if they would like us to resubmit an expression of interest. So okay, I just didn't want, yeah, we don't have a report for you, just wanted you to be aware that staff has begun that review.
That's great, thank you, because we did ask, we wanted to gain from the experience of Bonnechere Valley and see if there was anything in their operational review that would be able to be identified as something that we should be considering. council will now, do you want a recommendation to move forward with an expression of interest to the new intake of the modernization fund that was announced at the Roma conference? So we would be applying again for funding for the service delivery review from the modernization fund. Is that something staff would like us to do, to provide a resolution for that?
When we get to that item in the correspondence, yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll discuss that when we get to the item in the correspondence, but we have already prepared an expression of interest. So it should be fairly quick and easy to update it with the information that you now have and submit it. Okay. Is there any questions or discussion from council on the service delivery review? Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I noticed in the new announcement, and I know you're going to be dealing with it in the package, and it seems like it's been somewhat narrowed in terms of, and that's just my quick read through it. The possibility of being able to do what we want to do within the confines of that, the new requirements. There is money there, but I'm not so sure we're going to fit. But that's staff can have a look at that. But also, it was mentioned in the past that we had money left over from one of the funds from last year that we could utilize if we don't have any grants, if we're not successful in getting a grant. Okay, I just want to be able to proceed with having the review done, so make sure that we're find out if we, first of all, are we eligible? And I noticed there's a cutoff in March, so it's not something that we can just, and I know staff is not prepared to just kick it down the road. I know that they're going to be on top of it, so that's good.
Sue, so we could have staff verify that a service delivery review would be eligible under the funding announcement that was made at Roma. I think they can just verify that through the ministry. And as I said, we already have developed an expression of interest. So basically the application is already developed. It may need to be tweaked slightly based on any subtle changes in criterion, but certainly it should be able to be submitted. Amanda.
Since we're talking about it here, also as Councillor Poplinski pointed out, they did narrow the scope of what we could apply for, and digitization of records is at the top of that list as well, and that is something that I would like us to focus on this year as well within our budget. So I have been following the TPON site, the province's grant site, and the documents have not been released yet. So I checked this morning as well, and they're still not on there to determine what's best to qualify for. So there are some options, if service delivery review doesn't work, maybe we could, flip over to digitization of our septic records or some of our records in our records room. But and to answer Councillor Poplinski, yes, we do still have funds available in our modernization grant. So we should be able to cover those bases, yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you. Good stuff. Okay,
so we'll do everything we can to offset any of these costs through funding that's available to us, obviously. And Amanda, I'm assuming you can get back to us once you have a firm idea of what the criterion are as to what we're going to apply for.
Yes, and typically they require a council resolution of what we're applying for. So it will be coming back in March.
Okay. All right, that's good. We still have an interest as a council in doing an operational service delivery review. So once we figure out whether or not it's going to fit into the funding that has just been announced, we can then determine how we want to proceed in terms of use of other funds that we do have available to us. Anything else from council? Okay. Next on our agenda then is revenue and expenditure reports, the 2020 budget year. And Amanda, I will turn it over to you to speak to these.
So what you have in front of you is the first look, excuse me, is the first, I guess, look of a more cleaned up reporting for departmental revenues and expenses. So I've tried to move things around and categorize them better. So on the first page is the grants. The second page is sort of miscellaneous revenues that don't apply to any specific department. And then we have our school boards and payments in lieu, or taxation, I'm sorry, and payments in lieu. And then you get into each department's revenues and expenses. So would like some feedback from council, how this looks. We can sort of move things around, but I like the idea of having the revenues on top of each specific department and then the expenditures down below. It's just easier when you're looking at it compared to budgeting. Also of note, so the revenues come in as a negative. So your revenues will always be a negative and your expenditures will always be a positive on the reports. So when I printed off the report, the whole of the report as the system creates it, there are some old departments that were created from our legacy system that are still in there. And I didn't want to just rip the pages out because they're numbered and just for transparency's sake. So I am working with iCity to have those removed so that they don't appear as a whole of the report. So they're in there just for your own purposes for transparency, but they will be moved. Amortization expenses, so that is PISA budgeting, which we do not follow. We follow a cash flow basis of budgeting. So they're not really applicable to us, but they do slide in there. So I'm working with the auditor to see where we can move that so that it doesn't affect our FIR statement for the reporting system as well. And then, so what I was hoping to do is, so staff will be receiving training on the new system in March is the earliest I could get them, so that they can log on to the new program themselves if they wanted to see where their department budgets are at. But what I would like to propose to council is that this report be presented monthly. And that each department, so the page that the department corresponds to appears on the agenda for that department, and then the department heads could then speak to the report should they need to. And then on a quarterly basis, I would submit a full trial balance, which outlines or provides all of our account numbers and transaction numbers. So I'm just would like some feedback from council if they wouldn't mind just the look of the reports and how they would like the reporting to go.
Okay, Councillor Wilmer.
First of all, I think it looks excellent. This is something that looks much more like what I'm used to dealing with, and it really, really makes it much, much easier. And I certainly like the idea of each department having a monthly report or being able for every department head to be able to report on it. I think that's a great idea, and I think quarterly for the full is great. The one suggestion on the layout I would make is, it's just a small one, but when I initially looked at it, I couldn't tell where the expenditures started. I'm just wondering, under the total revenue line, if we could just put in a subtitle of expenditure on each page, just
Absolutely.
so you go from total revenue to expenditures. It just makes it clearer for me, and that's the only thing. I love it. I think it's wonderful. So great job.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Amanda, I'm not seeing anyone else, but I think the idea of having the revenues for that department at the head of the page and being able to see then the expenses for that department is helpful, especially when it comes to specific sources of revenue like grant funding. It would be nice to be able to be reminded that there's a $3 million grant for a roads project, for example, and have it right there ready for us to see how much of that grant has come in, for example. It also is going to help us with tracking things. Oh, sorry, I just had something go off on my computer at home. Okay.
So I can move those grant lines, the revenue lines, to match up as well to the departmental revenue section, if that is a preferable look,
I think
rather
if it's
than having them all sectioned out.
Yeah, well, I think it's very important to be able to see them.
Yes.
But the revenues you put on the top, I like the idea.
Okay.
What we don't see anywhere is where we're at with capital expenditures beyond a total. I'm just wondering how we're going to address that.
Okay.
Whether, because I guess we can see the budget and we can see the actual, and if there's a big difference, we'll have to ask. But at the
Right.
moment, we don't have any way of knowing if the truck was bought or, that sort of thing. There's no identification of that through here, but I don't know what
Okay.
your software will do.
Okay.
I don't know whether capital projects can all be on a list or something, or
Okay. I can look into that.
yeah, just to see. I mean, we'll have to figure out how to address that.
A costing breakdown I can look into.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else from anyone on this? I think we have a good start, certainly, to
Good improvement.
how we're going to go forward, and certainly very pleased with what you're suggesting. I think making department heads address their budgets as we go through the year is going to be ensure we have far more accountability and a better understanding of what is going on in each department.
Mhm.
I think council concurs with that. So what you're proposing is great.
Okay.
Is there anything further for Amanda on this, or will I just have Sue read the recommendation? Okay, I don't see anything else. So maybe Sue, you could read the recommendation.
That the revenue.
Sorry, Councillor Poplinsky.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't have it high enough here. No, I had a question, but perhaps I can go back to Amanda. And it's just clarification on a couple of things. So I don't want to take up everybody else's time. So it's something that she can probably answer for me as long as I've got permission to do so.
Well, absolutely. If any member of council has a concern about any of the line items in here, I'd suggest strongly that you go and speak to the treasurer. If you feel it's then an issue that needs to be addressed by council, it can be brought up at our next meeting and discussed. But definitely, please, if you have questions, go and get them answered so everybody's very clear about what's on the line items and in the budget. So please, Councillor Poplinsky. Everyone, if you could try to do that before the meeting, then if there is something you feel needs to be discussed by council, we could bring it up in that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have no problem creating a report of any questions that council has to present it at the following council meeting, if that's the process we like to go with.
Okay. All right. So definitely take your questions to Amanda, and then, as I say, if it needs to come back to council, it can. All right, Sue, could you read the recommendation?
Yes, through the chair, that the revenues and expenditures report to budget year 2021 be received as information, or is it budget year 2020? Be received as information, and that the treasurer provide a departmental budget update report to council and committee agenda on a monthly basis and a full trial balance report quarterly for council review.
Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Our next item is the 2020 statement of cash in lieu of parkland and increased density.
Yes.
Amanda, did you want to speak to that?
Yes. So in accordance with Section 37 and Section 42 of the Planning Act, the treasurer must provide a financial statement, including opening and closing balances to council relating to cash in lieu of parkland monies and increased density funding. This statement must be available to the public as well. So in 2019, we received cash in lieu of parkland in the amount of $26,750. So that money was added to the Parks and Playground Reserve. In 2020, we withdrew $21,696.51 from that, which leaves us with a balance of $5,053.49 of that specific money, of which I need to report to. That money was used to purchase a new, what do you call it, a UTV or an ATV for the Parks Department. As it relates to increased density or density bonusing, there is no density bonusing implemented, and therefore no statement is required. So once this cash in lieu of parkland monies that was collected in 2019 has all been expensed, I will not be required to report on it. Any questions?
Okay. Yes, any questions from council? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Amanda, this cash in lieu of parkland is usually something we acquire through subdivision agreements. Is that where
That's
it's coming from?
correct. Right. So instead of consistently acquiring all this land, parkland, sometimes we can request that we receive cash in lieu of the parkland, the value of that land based on the figures set out by the ministry.
Is there any restrictions on how we use that? Is it restricted to parks and
Yes.
recreation?
Yes, so the funds must be held in a separate reserve fund for transparency and ease of reporting. And only that monies and any interest can be spent on the acquisition of land to be used for parks or other recreational purposes, including the erection, improvement, or repair of buildings and the acquisition of machinery, particularly for parks purposes. So it's park specific.
Okay, that's good to know. Certainly we had applied for a grant to replace one of the play structures in a park, and we weren't successful in 2020. So it is good for council to be aware that we do have this reserve fund, and it may help us to address that issue of the play structure in our 2021 budget. At least it is available for a possible purpose like that.
Correct.
Okay. If there's nothing further on that, then I guess I'll have Sue read the recommendation.
Through the chair, that council in committee recommends that council receive the treasurer's statement on cash in lieu of parkland as required under section 42 of the Planning Act RSO 1990, chapter P13 be received as information, and that the statement be made available to the public on the municipal website and or upon request.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, under finance and admin, there was no correspondence or information. And is there any unfinished business? I don't think there is. All right. That ends the council and committee portion of the meeting, and we will now be entering the regular council meeting portion of the meeting. We will start with the confirmation of the minutes of the public meeting minutes of January 16th, 2021. The recommendation is that the public meeting minutes for January 16th or 19th? Sorry, January 19th, 2021 be approved as presented. I apologize, council, it's January 19th. Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any errors or omissions on these minutes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. And next we have the regular council meeting minutes of January 19th, 2021. Sorry, I was just bringing them up. The recommendation is that the regular council meeting minutes for January 19th, 2021 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any errors or omissions on these minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes from council? Okay, if there's none, then I would go to the resolution from the municipality of Charlton and Dac dated January 7th, 2021 regarding insurance. And Sue, you looked into that. Sue.
I did. If you recall, this resolution had been tabled for me to seek more clarification. I spoke with Mr. Thibault, the clerk, the author of the resolution, and I have confirmed that the section we were questioning within the resolution was specific to an insurance issue in their township that is not relevant to ours. And I have removed that reference, but I would like council consideration to pass the resolution as amended in support of the municipality of Charlton and Dac. And I would read it without that excerpt.
Okay, is someone willing to move that? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on the resolution, noting that the section that's specific to this municipality will be removed? Anything from council? Okay, seeing nothing, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. If we could send a letter in support of that resolution, separate from the piece that's specific to them, that would be great. Thank you. So that completes our business arising from the minutes. We'll move into correspondence action items. 12.3.1, resolution from the Township of Augusta dated January 25th, 2021 regarding the Ontario Fire College. Respectfully, council, with our discussion that we did have yesterday in regards to this, I think at this point we should just table this this resolution, and when we have more information, we can reconsider it. Is council okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not seeing any objections. So please, do we need a motion to table? Okay, so please just table it. Next is 12.3.2. I got to bring it up here. Okay, resolution from the Township of Blandford Blenheim, dated October 13th, 2020, regarding unlicensed and unmonitored cannabis grow operations. Council, do you wish to support this resolution? Okay, are we supporting or are we filing? Councillor Poplinski.
Well, I think we really should have a serious look at this because of the attending the Roma, and of course there were two particular sessions on a lot of these problems, and they're not going to get dealt with unless there's enough pressure put on the government to deal with them. So I would suggest that we support it.
So are you moving to support it?
I would certainly do so.
Okay, moved by Councillor Poplinski. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the resolution and supporting it? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. I think it does sort of go along with our the work we are going to be doing in terms of the planning work to identify areas of the municipality where we don't want there to be cannabis grow ops, and to deal with the questions that result from the conflicts that occur with neighbors. So certainly supporting it is a good thing. Councillor Poplinski.
Yeah, and thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want, if I could just speak very briefly about this and some of the big issues that are coming up. And they cited a situation where there was a plot that was developed and the crop took in $11 million. The people that had bought the land bought it over time. So they, at the end of it, when they got charged, they just walked away from it. And what the authorities found was that it was the aftermath of in finding the amount of illegal substances that were used to grow the product. And of course that remains in the ground. So they cautioned townships like ours and others to be on guard, because we could have a very expensive cleanup, and it's our responsibility then. So that's why every little thing that like this that might help along the way, and we just have to remain vigilant. It was a really, and I'm hoping, and I spoke to the CAO about this, about getting copies of those presentations, and I think it'd be really beneficial for all the members of council to have that. So hopefully we are going to get that. And but there were many things that I wouldn't even have thought about.
Mm-hmm.
But very, very good presentation, and they are extremely concerned what's going on right now. So but if we could get copies of those, that'd be wonderful.
Yes, I think the reason the Roma board chose it as one of our breakout sessions is because this is happening across rural Ontario. This is
Mhm.
becoming an issue for rural Ontario. And as small rural municipalities, we need to have a way to address this. We need to ensure that people are conforming to our zoning, and that these grow ops aren't locating in areas where we don't want them to be located in because of the conflicts with the neighbors, but also that there are that there's some checks and balances and some controls, as you speak of, Councillor Poplinski, in regards to what they're using and what they're doing on the property, because you don't want them here today and gone tomorrow, and you're left with, as you say, a mess to clean up. So, okay, so I think it's good we supported that. And, you know, as I say, just so council is aware, this is an issue that's a growing concern for many rural municipalities. Our next item is a resolution from the Township of Howick, I think, dated December 3rd, 2020, regarding drainage installations, and it's in relation to farms. Sue, is this something we have anything in our municipality or have any knowledge of?
We don't have any farm tile drains.
Okay, so council, is this something someone feels passionate about, or should we perhaps just file this because it's not really a subject we're well versed in? Okay, so we'll file that one. Resolution from Prince Edward County, regarding elections. Find that one. Okay, does council have any interest in supporting this? I'm not even certain what they're referring to in terms of it becomes more difficult to implement these alternatives with the proposed shorter period between nomination day and the October 24th, 2022 election day. Sue, do you have any sense of what it is that their concern is?
Well, I think because they've shortened the timelines, and there are some municipalities that are looking at alternative voting, whether they decide to go with mail-in voting or telephone. I'm assuming that's what they're referencing, but not sure.
Okay, council, do we have any interest in supporting this? Councillor Wilmer?
I was just gonna say we should
No.
file.
Did I get a no from you there?
Yeah, just saying file it.
Okay. All right, so with council's permission, we'll just file that one. Next is a resolution from the Township of South Stormont, dated January 20th, 2021, regarding small business and COVID-19. This is a resolution trying to get the government to allow small businesses to open. I think this is again that issue between large box stores versus small businesses in rural municipalities. Any interest in supporting this one from council? Okay,
Yes.
are we? Oh, okay,
I think
Councillor.
so. Absolutely.
Well, are you moving it then?
I was so moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Poplinski. Do I have a seconder? Okay, I don't have a seconder for that.
Okay.
Just going to
Check.
double check what it says. So this one is calling for them to be allowed to immediately reopen. I don't know. Is it something we want to wade into? I'm getting the feeling council doesn't at this point. Okay. All right, then I guess we will just file that. Resolution from the Township of Mattawatchan, oh gosh. Matachewan?
Sounds good.
Okay, sorry.
Saskatchewan.
Yes, I honestly admit, you know, like I say, this is day 3 of myself being on a Zoom meeting, and I'm running low on energy here. December 14th, 2020, regarding grant opportunities. And this one I believe is about grant turnaround time. Council, any desire to support this one? Councillor Wilmer.
I think we discussed it this morning about the short time we're getting, and I think yesterday there's even a mention. So I wouldn't mind supporting this one. I don't think it does any harm, but don't know where it'll go.
Okay, are you willing to move it?
I am.
Okay, so moved by Counselor Wilmer. Do I have a seconder on this? Seconded by Counselor Bromwich. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Letter from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing dated January 26, 2021 regarding service delivery. So this is in relation to the new announcement from the Roma Conference of more modernization funding. I think we've pretty much given direction on this, and staff will be getting back to us. Anything further from council on this? Okay, I think then we'll just accept it as information and staff will get back to us. Okay, I'm not missing anything. Resolution from West Gray dated January 13th, 2021 regarding Schedule 8 of the Provincial Budget Bill 229, Protect, Support, and Recover from COVID-19 Act. Now that item wasn't attached to the agenda. It got missed. I don't know if Gwen has got it back on there, but you did receive it by email. Is there any desire from council to support this? Okay. Or is this something that we would like to file? I think perhaps we're going to file this one as well. Okay, nobody's saying anything, so I'm going with file that one. All right, 12.3.9 is that emergency addition we have added to the agenda. Emergency engine repair of unit number EQ070. We have Amanda. Is Hillary going to speak to this, or it's pretty much it's broke, we need to fix it?
Yeah, he wasn't available.
Okay.
So I was advised by the Public Works or the operations manager that equipment number 70, the 2011 International Plow Unit, the valve dropped into the motor, causing catastrophic engine failure. The unit is no longer able to operate, and in order for us to meet our minimum maintenance standards, we require this unit to be in operation. The unit is 10 years old, but he believes it still has 5 years of life left in it, and he is requesting emergency recognition of having this engine be repaired at a cost of $37,050.54, and that's with all taxes in.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mayor Love, I had a question, but Amanda answered it by saying it was 10 years old and the life expectancy is another 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it would verify, it would warrant spending that money, because it would be different if we were within a year or so of the last year of its use. But I think I would support having this work done as soon as possible.
Okay, Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I understand it's only got 155,000 kilometers on it, and that's a reasonable amount of, usually we're looking at 300,000 as the end of a motor, so it might have that much life left in it once we put the new motor in. I know they're abused very badly on the roads when they're plowing and that, but 155,000 kilometers is not a humongous amount on a motor. So I would agree with putting the money into it. I don't think we have much choice. Thank you.
Okay, well, certainly plowing is hard on them. I don't know if I'd say they're abused on the road. I think our staff do look after our vehicles very well, but it's, I want to make sure that's
Abused
clearly
by
understood.
the roads, by the roads.
Thank you, rather than on the road, because it is a difficult job with some of our hills to do that plowing. Okay, just wanted to be clear about that. Okay, did I ask if I have a resolution? I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Sue, do you have a resolution for us?
I do. That council approved the request from the operations manager to proceed with the emergency engine repairs for unit number EQ070, 2011 International Tandem, at a cost of $37,050.54, HST included.
Okay, and that will be funded through the budgetary process for 2021, is that correct? Okay.
That is correct.
All right, can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Counselor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, next is bylaws. Bylaw 2021-11 regarding employment wage grid non-unionized. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-11, being a bylaw regulating the appointment, duties, and remuneration of the township officers and non-unionized staff, be given first and second reading this second day of February 2021. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Schulis, seconded by, I lost somebody. Oh, Counselor Poplinski. Any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Recommendation is that bylaw 2021-11 be given third and final reading this second day of February 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Bromwich, seconded by Counselor Wilmer. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Bylaw 2021-12 regarding council remuneration for 2021. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-12, being a bylaw to provide for the remuneration of the members of council of the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley, be given first and second reading this second day of February 2000. Well, should I be saying the third day of February? It just dawned on me. I apologize. Gwen, should I be
Yes.
saying the third?
We'll have to change it.
Okay, so that last one was the third, and I apologize.
Good
It
catch.
didn't even dawn on me. So, be given first and second reading this third day of February 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Bromwich, seconded by Counselor Schulis. Any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-12 be given third and final reading this third day of February 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Poplinski, seconded by Counselor Wilmer. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. So our in-camera session was already completed. And we are down to our confirming bylaw. Bylaw 2021-13 is regarding the confirming bylaw for the council meeting of February 2nd and 3rd, 2021. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-13, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley at a council meeting of February 2nd and 3rd, be given first and second reading. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Poplinski, seconded by Counselor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-13 be given third and final reading this third day of February 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Schulis, seconded by Counselor Bromwich. All those in favor? And that's carried. Motion to adjourn. I think this has been our longest meeting. Moved by Counselor Wilmer, seconded by Counselor Poplinski. All those in favor? And that's carried. I'm not listening to you, Bromwich. Thank you,
Super.
Council. We are adjourned.
Okay.
We did get a lot of work done.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the input.